We're going to go over the best college football confidence picks for Week 5 of the 2024 season. Last week was a decent week, at least in the ACC, the Big Ten, and the SEC. We only lost a combined 4 games, but the Big 12, we went 3-5 and actually had a negative point total for that week. So we need to do absolutely much better in the Big 12 this week. But I think we will. Overall this year, we're doing really, really well in every conference. Let's go into the conference picks for Week 5, guys. We'll start out with the Big 12. The most confident game I have this week is Iowa State over Houston. These are all going to be conference games. Iowa State's a 16-point favorite of Houston. I think Houston's the worst team in the Big 12. I don't think this is going to be even close matchup. That's why I have this at number 7. Number 6, UCF over Colorado. They're also a 14-point favorite over the Buffaloes. Everybody thinks it's going to be a close game. I do not. I think UCF will not only win this game, I think they'll cover the 2 touchdowns and send Colorado back to the pit of misery after that lucky win last week against Baylor. Number 5 game, I have Utah over Arizona. This is where it starts getting a little tricky now because all these games are really close, at least in the spread, and also with the power ratings too. Utah, I just feel like with a home advantage, and they have a 9-point spread here, I just think they're going to win over Arizona, who is not really living up to their hype that they had in the preseason. Number 4, I think Texas Tech over Cincinnati. Once again, Texas Tech for the 3rd week in a row is within a 3-point favorite of their matchup. I still think they beat Cincinnati, who I think is just almost as bad as Houston, and they're actually worse than Houston. They lost them last week, so I think Texas Tech over Cincy. Next one, I'm going to take Kansas State over Oklahoma State. It seems like the loser of this game will almost knock themselves out of the Big 12 championship race, at least momentum-wise. Both teams lost last week. They actually got lost pretty big. I think Kansas State's going to win this. They're only a 5-point spread, a favorite spread over Oklahoma State, but I think they prevail in the end. Number 2, Kansas over TCU. This is basically a toss-up. I do not see Kansas falling to 1-4 in this season, so I think they're going to get a win over TCU. And after TCU had a decent start, they're not hitting in the right direction fast. And number 1, BYU over Baylor. I think BYU, even though they're a 3-point underdog, they had a big win over Kansas State. I'm really surprised at the spread in this one, how they're an underdog. I'm still going to take them to win over the Baylor Bears outright. Next up is the Big Ten. They only have, I do believe, 8 games of the slate. The most confident game I have is definitely Ohio State over Michigan State. I mean, this is not even going to be a contest. Michigan State thinks that this is a rivalry game. Ohio State views it as just another game. Ohio State's going to win this one big. Number 7, Oregon over UCLA. Another game I think former Pac-12 conference foes are facing each other. Oregon's a big favorite. They're 25.5-point favorite. I think Oregon's going to win big over the Bruins in this one as well. Number 6, USC over Wisconsin. I don't know what to think about Wisconsin yet, but I do know that USC is a better team than them, especially at home. This early in the season, I think that weather change for going from Wisconsin to Southern California is not going to work well for the Badgers, and I think USC is going to get their home opener in the Big Ten Conference. Penn State over Illinois. This game, it started off as like 17-point spread. Now it's up to 18.5. I think Illinois probably covered this game, but I do think Penn State's going to win. It's a night game in Happy Valley. I mean, this one's I can't pick against Penn State, especially with the team they have and how good Illinois has been. I still think they lose in this one. Number 4, Michigan over Minnesota, a game that's I just can't figure out why the spread is so close. I don't know if people think that Michigan's still just going to have low scoring or low margin of victories the rest of the season with their style of offense, or if they think Minnesota is just that good. But I think Michigan, they will win, they will cover, and they're going to get to 4-1 on this early part of the season. Number 3, Nebraska over Purdue. Nebraska, they looked like a legitimate top 25 team before that loss to Illinois last week. Now, I'm still back to the iffy part of them. Purdue is probably going to be the worst teams in the Big Ten, but I still think Nebraska, even on the road, going to Purdue, I still think this should be a decent one, but I'm not as confident as some of these other games. Number 2, Indiana over Maryland. Indiana, man, I think they're going to get to 5-0. They're only a 7-point favorite, but it's at home. Maryland is not that good of a team. They're a good, decent team. They beat Virginia a couple weeks ago, but I don't think they're that good. So I think Indiana's going to continue the winning streak and prevail over Maryland. Number 1, Rutgers over Washington. This is basically a toss-up. This is a Friday night game. I'm going to take Rutgers, even though the spread's 1.5. I think Rutgers is a decent team as well. I think they're going to prevail over the Huskies and get to 4-0 on the early part of this season as well. Heading to the ACC now. They had 9 games this slate this week. Number 9, Syracuse gonna Holy Cross. I mean, Syracuse is a good team, not that good of a team, but Holy Cross FCS. They were not the FCS team they were last year, so I'm taking Syracuse in this one. Clemson over Stanford. Stanford had a magical victory over Syracuse last week. I do not think lightning strikes twice. I think Clemson will beat Stanford and then continue their ACC dominance early on in the season. Number 7, Boston College over Western Kentucky. 8-point spread. I don't know why this is so close. Maybe because their quarterback's out for Boston College, but I mean, come on, it's Western Kentucky. They're definitely going to beat Western Kentucky, and they'll move to 4-1 on this season. Number 6, NC State over Northern Illinois, another ACC team that kind of, I don't know what happened to them. They're one of the more overrated teams in the preseason, and now they sit at 2-2. But it's Northern Illinois. I mean, it's only 8-point spread, but Northern Illinois had a victory over Notre Dame, but, I mean, come on. Again, just like Stanford, I don't think lightning strikes twice for them. I think NC State handily beats Northern Illinois. Number 5, SMU over Florida State. I think even after the victory last week, Florida State I think they're going to just fall right back to the loss column. I think SMU rebounded very nicely after that very poor start the first 3 games, and I think they're going to get a victory over the Seminoles in Week 5. Number 4, Miami over Virginia Tech. This game, even though it was 17.5-point spread, I'm still going to take Miami. That's why I have it so low, because anything can happen. I think Virginia Tech, they're a few plays away from being 4-0 right now, but I think Miami's going to win eventually. In the end, I think they're just an overall better team than Virginia Tech, and even though Virginia Tech, if they do win this game, they could very well contend for the ACC again, even after that poor start themselves. Number 3, Duke over UNC. This is basically a toss-up. I'm just taking the home team in this one. The home team and the favorite. I have no idea how either of these 2 teams are. Can't really tell you much about this one. I'm just taking the home team and the favorite. Number 2, Wake Forest or Louisiana. If either Wake Forest is just that bad, or I don't even know. Wake Forest is only a 3-point favorite at home against Louisiana, a 3:30 game. Wow. I mean, I know they lost to Ole Miss big, but man, when you're only over a 3-point favorite over a Sun Belt team, they're like, not even like the best Sun Belt team. So I don't know. I'm just gonna take Wake Forest in this one. Number 1, Notre Dame over Louisville. This is a very good matchup for their Week 5, the second best matchup in my opinion. I think Notre Dame will prevail. I think they actually cover the spread. I think Louisville's a good team, but I think Notre Dame just has more talent than them. And Notre Dame always, this year at least, seem to show up more for the big games than they do against the lesser opponents, a la the 2 MAC schools they played. They played like ass against Miami, Ohio, and they played absolute ass against Northern Illinois. So I'm going to think they're going to show up in this game and they're going to cover against the Cardinal. And finally, the SEC. There's only 6 games on the slate for this week. The most confident game, I mean, obviously, LSU over South Alabama. I mean, come on. It's LSU. I mean, South Alabama is not... They're not even a decent Sun Belt school. I'm going to take LSU. They're 20.5-point favorites, so yeah, 6 in that one. And the other one, number 5, Texas over Mississippi State, 37.5-point favorite at home. Mississippi State, along with Vanderbilt, will be the 2 worst teams in the SEC, so Texas is definitely going to win this one. Number 4, Ole Miss over Kentucky. This was a 17.5-point spread for Ole Miss. I think they're playing at home. I think Kentucky, they have a good defense, but their offense is obviously, sketch. They only allowed Georgia 13 points. They lost a couple weeks ago. So I think Ole Miss is just going to outscore them in the end. That's why they're going to prevail in this one. Number 3, Oklahoma over Auburn. This one is moved from a 2-point favorite for Oklahoma all the way down to 1.5-point underdog for Oklahoma on the road. Even though Auburn's not starting, they're putting back Peyton Thorne in this one, and Oklahoma's starting a new quarterback, so that might have a lot to do with it. I still think Oklahoma's going to prevail over Auburn. We'll just have to see how close the game is. I think they're going to win all right though. Number 2, Alabama over Georgia. I think this is the biggest regular season conference matchup we've had in many years. Alabama is only a 2-point underdog going into this one. The analytics just show that I just think they're going to win. They're playing at home. It's a night game. They've owned Kirby Smart in Georgia for the better part of the last 6-7 years. Even though it's a new coach for head coach Kalen DeBoer, I still think they're going to win. That's why I have them at number 2 in this one. That's why the most uncertain game I have, I think Arkansas is going to prevail at a neutral site over Texas A&M. I just have a weird feeling Arkansas, man. They're a good team. They lost. They choked the game away against Oklahoma State. That's their only loss of the year. And they were a 3-point underdog last week on the road against Auburn, and they prevailed. This team is good. I don't believe in Texas A&M yet, even though they're 3-1. They're ranked the 24th. I think Arkansas is going to pull the upset over Texas A&M, and they'll move to 4-1 in the early part of the season. Have a decent stretch to make some other upsets the rest of the year. That's my video, guys. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button below, subscribe to the channel, and join me next week to see what the tally is. We're going to have some good wins this week, and hopefully we have another week like week 3, like we had a couple weeks ago. And I'll see you next week, guys.